Howdy folks, I'm Terrific Telarium, tantalizingly telling terrifying tales.
I'm Amber.
And here are more terrifying tales for us to tell. Except for it's just Reddit.
But they're still kind of terrifying.
We'll see. You be the judge of that. Alright folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Getting My Husband Fired? I'm a 27-year-old female, and I've been with my husband, a 31-year-old male, for 13 years now. Married for 9. He was my first serious boyfriend, and we were high school sweethearts. We got married right after I graduated high school, and moved in together right after he graduated college, and got his own place. Everything was wonderful. I lost my job at the beginning of lockdown in 2020, but my husband was able to keep his. I continued to be a stay-at-home wife, even after lockdown let up, because my husband makes plenty to support us both, and we're child-free. After 2 years as a stay-at-home wife, I wanted to go back to work, at least part-time. I told my husband that I wanted to return to work, which led to a long talk. And after some back and forth, we came to an agreement. If I can't find a job after 6 months, then we would consider it a sign that I should be a stay-at-home wife, and he should be the breadwinner. And I would find an out-of-the-house hobby to engage in. With some help from my husband, I gathered the references and fired up my resume, but nothing ever came of it. It's been 2 months since we reached the end of our agreement, and I'm back to being a stay-at-home wife. A couple weeks ago, I was out with one of my friends, Sarah, a 34-year-old female, and her husband, a 35-year-old male. They are longtime friends with my husband. We were having brunch, and I told her that my big job search failed and that I'm sad about being a stay-at-home wife again because I still haven't found a good hobby. Sarah gets visibly upset and says that she has something that she needs to tell me. She said that she didn't know how to say it and she was very sorry that she kept it from me. But she thinks that her husband and my husband were the reason that I never got a job. For background, the business that I worked at before lockdown no longer exists. Before that, I worked at another small business owned by Sarah's husband. It's his and his brother's pet project next to their full-time jobs. So he's listed as my most recent employer. Sarah said that she walked in on him a couple months prior, bad-mouthing me over the phone. When she asked him what it was all about, he said that he wouldn't say. But eventually she got him to confess, and that he was tanking my chances at a job because my husband asked him to. Half of my references are professionals that my husband knows, and I suspect that they were also in on it. I was so angry that I went with my thought, get him fired so he has a taste of his own medicine. And I succeeded. When he found out what I did, he exploded on me, telling me that he did it for us and our future, and that we could have been so happy if I would have just stayed at home and been a good wife. He called me a lot of names and told me to get out. So I went to my mother's house and I'm still here. He's been blowing up my phone daily, sometimes angry, sometimes begging for me to come home. But I want to let him sit in what he's done for a little while before I go home. Part of me is sad though, and wondering if what I did was wrong. Was I the jerk for getting him fired? Alright folks, what do you think of this situation?
I'm going to have to say that everyone's the jerk. And it really pains me to do that because the husband in the situation is so awful. Like, that is such a horrible thing to do to another person.
Yeah.
But the way OP went about getting him fired, I can't condone that.
I think that this is a peculiar situation. OP, what they did here, I think was wrong. I don't think that they should have gone about this the way they did. But I can certainly understand why they would have been angry at their husband, right? Now, there's something else that OP says is that they don't believe in divorce, and so they're not actually going to divorce their husband, but I disagree with that statement. I mean, I think that while OP is maybe still loves their husband, I would also reflect deeply on this relationship and how bad some aspects of it are.
I would recommend OP go into individual counseling ASAP because, yeah, this is not a healthy situation. And what her partner is doing is very much not okay. It's control, plain and simple. And hopefully a therapist would be able to help OP identify the troubling patterns in her relationship.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with you here. I think OP really needs to go into individual therapy, and I think that would hopefully help her to start seeing and identifying some of the patterns here that are just not good and healthy. And also maybe help her develop some different coping mechanisms for
Mm-hmm.
when things become stressful.
And I mean, I don't think OP, it sounds like OP isn't at a place where she's interested in this, but if anyone else finds themselves in a situation like this, a domestic violence resource center would be a great resource as well
Yeah.
to help with planning next steps.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. And Adelph says everyone's in the wrong because I was so angry that I went with my thought, get him fired so that he has a taste of his own medicine, and I succeeded. This is the part that makes me think that it's fake. If you're angry, your immediate reaction would have been to confront and blow up at him, not let me come up with some sneaky scheme that will result in his termination at an indeterminate point in the future. Also, I love how you gloss over the whole thing by simply saying I succeeded. Really? It's that easy and quick to get someone fired. And OP replies, this sub has a word limit. There's a lot that I had to trim to keep it within the limits. I've already explained what I did to get him fired. And Key Direction 23 says, sound fake. So she got her husband fired, just like that. Also, even if the company that she works for before is out of business, it's still her last place of employment. Lastly, if the friend's husband did knowingly badmouth her and lie to prevent her from getting a job, that's a lawsuit right there. And OP replies, my husband told me that it's unprofessional and unnecessary to list a place of employment on my resume if the business no longer exists. He said doing something like that would negatively impact my chances at getting called back or even hired. So I did want to touch on this for a moment. This sounds like a very well crafted manipulative plan that the
Mm-hmm.
husband came up with. He lied to her about what she should put on her resume. You should always put all of your work experience on your resume unless it's a job that you do not personally want to be on your resume
Or is not relevant in your
or isn't
field.
relevant. Yeah. Putting a business that went out of business on your resume is perfectly acceptable. You can do that, and it's just going to be a little bit harder for them to do the references and stuff like that. But it isn't anything wrong with doing that. So it does really sound like he lied to her in order to basically line up this whole scheme so that he could keep her down. And Apprehensive Care 20Z says, your husband is a really weird, controlling jerk. Holy cow. How can he sabotage your life like that? And do it behind your back and then lie to you about it. That's pure evil. You need to seriously consider leaving him. He has no respect for you at all. You are his pet, and you will do what he commands you to do. No life for you. You only serve him. Also, how is he so flaky that you can call someone and get him fired? Sure, everyone will say that you're a jerk, but that's hilariously awesome. Not the jerk. More importantly, this guy was 21 or so. He was dating a high school girl. Let's see. He was 18 and dating a 14-year-old. Do I have that right? What in the world? That is a groomer. That might be a crime. And OP replies, oh, it's not because he was flaky and I didn't call anyone. I took his laptop and I got the login for his work email and then I used it to send inappropriate messages to his boss and some coworkers. Also deleted some messages from his inbox that seemed important. Also, he's not a groomer. We met in high school when we were both teens. There's nothing weird about that.
And I just wanted to touch upon this because it is possible for teenagers to have abusive dynamics. It seems like OP is a little bit, and I understand, it's not always easy to see flaws in your partner, and we cannot say for sure what their dynamics were. But it is very possible for an 18-year-old who's dating a 14-year-old to do so with the intention to control them. It's clear that OP takes her husband's word as gospel,
Yeah.
didn't question him telling her not to put this employment on her resume. And it's also very clear that he is very self-centered and only concerned about his own needs. He knows OP hates being a stay-at-home wife, but that's what he wants, so that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so while I can't say for sure in their situation what their dynamics were as teenagers, it is very possible for teenagers to engage in unhealthy relationships.
Alright, folks, and our next letter is titled, am I a jerk for not wanting to pay for my sister's dream wedding when she excluded me from her life for years? So, long story short, I'm a 28-year-old female, and I've always been on the outs with my family, particularly my sister Jenna, a 32-year-old female. When we were both kids, Jenna was the golden child. She was always praised for her achievements, while I struggled to find my place in my family. Over the years, I've come to terms with this dynamic and have since built a life for myself. For the past 6 years, Jenna cut me out of her life completely. She didn't invite me to family events, birthdays, and even miss Christmas together. I found out from mutual friends that she was speaking poorly of me behind my back. My attempts to reconcile were ignored. Recently, I was lucky enough to have a startup take off. I am now financially well off, which has drastically changed my life. Out of the blue, Jenna reached out to me, apologizing for the past and expressing her desire to rekindle our relationship. I was hesitant at first, but opened up to the idea. A few weeks ago, into our rekindled relationship, she shared that she's getting married next year. She mentioned that her dream wedding would be costly, and she and her fiance couldn't afford it. She hinted several times that it would be a nice gesture if I could chip in, suggesting that it could be my wedding gift to her. I told her that I needed to think about it. My partner believes it's just a ploy to get money from me. I want to believe Jenna's intentions are genuine, but it's hard to ignore the timing. Am I the jerk for not wanting to pay for my sister's dream wedding after years of being excluded from her life? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, I don't think Opie's in the wrong here. I find it very, very fishy that she wants to patch up at their relationship. At the same time, she wants to have a very costly wedding.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear her sister is just using her, and I don't blame Opie at all for being hesitant and not wanting to do this.
So, my thoughts are this. I think that no matter what, Jenna would have attempted to reconcile this relationship the moment OP started making tons of money. I think that the wedding is just a convenience at this point in time. It's just another excuse. I think Jenna will be a constant presence in OP's life looking for additional money. And I think it's going to be birthdays, Christmas, all kinds of things. Well, you're rich now. Now you can afford to do this or that. Why don't you pay for a vacation for me and my husband?
Yeah, and if they have kids, oh, well, you wouldn't want your nieces and nephews to not have the best of everything, would you?
Yeah. So I think that OP, you should say no to Jenna, see what her reaction is, and if she blows up on you and, cut you off, then you have the real reason why she's contacted you. This is very tacky. You don't go no contact with someone for years, and then the first thing you do when you get back together with them is not ask them for money. So it comes across as very insincere.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And 101037633 says, not the jerk. Do not ignore the timing. Your sister only is interested in your money and what you can do for her. She has no interest in actually having a relationship with you. Tell her no, and if she pitches a fit, then she really does not want a relationship. She will accept your decision at face value. Her past behavior is a good indicator of her future behaviors. It's your money, you worked hard to earn it. I would say no and walk away from this. And Leading Knowledge 712 says this, I would not give her a dime. Just a wedding gift if she sends you an invite to the wedding. Other than Reddit, I have never heard of anyone being expected or even asked to pay for a sister's wedding. Not the jerk. And Squirrels Are Evil 2479 says, not the jerk. Don't fall for it. If she is sincere in wanting a relationship with you, then she wouldn't be hinting about money. See how fast she disappears in your life if you tell her that you're very happy for her and would love to attend the wedding, but you're not paying for it. If she's still around after that, then maybe she really wants to have a relationship with you. You sound suspicious because there's a good reason why she chose now to reconcile. Alright folks, and our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk? My husband hasn't spoken to me in a week because he wants to visit his sister and I don't want him to because we don't have the money. Now he won't speak to me. Am I the jerk? My husband hasn't spoken to me in a week because I made him mad. How do I handle the silent treatment? Recently, my husband got mad at me. He wanted to spend some money that we didn't have to go visit his sister out of town when we had bills to pay, and we were headed there in a few weeks anyways. I didn't say no, we just don't have the money, and I wanted him to wait. I can't even buy my kids what they need, and he wants to go on a trip. Now he won't speak to me. He barely acknowledges me when I'm in the room. It's been a week, and he will only talk to me through text, and that's only for necessary things like the kids and bills. He does this often, and I can't take it anymore. How do I handle the silent treatment? I usually keep trying to talk to him until he makes me apologize, but I just don't have it in me anymore, and I don't know what to do. Am I the jerk? Edit, he wants to see his sister now because she's out on bail, and he's curious about the details. Her phone is tapped, so he wants to see her in person. She'll be out for months waiting for trial, and we're going in a few weeks anyways. She's not alone. She has family and friends to help her, so I don't feel it's an emergency to take bill money, but he does. FYI, to me, his behavior is normal. We've been together since elementary school, and I don't know anyone or anything else. I have no family or friends. I just thought it was me being too sensitive. And update, he finally blew up. He said that if I just agreed with him all of the time, then he wouldn't get angry. So the fights are my fault. Now he's back to silent treatment until he feels that I've made it up to him. But I have to figure out what and how. And when I have, he'll speak to me again. I'm learning to appreciate the silence. All right, folks, what do you think of this?
I do not think Opie's being the jerk here, and unfortunately, this sounds like a very unhealthy relationship. The way he is treating Opie is not okay, and I would recommend potentially speaking with a domestic violence resource center because this is hallmark manipulation tactic. And he literally admitted his aim is to get OP to always agree with him, never disagree with him. He wants to control the household. And he wants to spend money that they can't afford to spend. And it sounds like that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. I feel so bad for OP here. It sounds like OP is kind of isolated intentionally because that's what abusive people do. And she doesn't know what to do because she doesn't have any friends or any guidance. And that's why domestic abuse resource centers are so useful and helpful, is because they can provide that additional support that somebody might not have when they're isolated. And I think that OP really needs to consider leaving this relationship. This is not a good relationship. He's going to continue to blame her. He's going to continue to ice her out like this. And that's just not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, I would suggest therapy, but it sounds like OP probably doesn't have the resources for that. Now, domestic violence resource centers often do have support groups that are free to attend. So that might be a good option to talk with other people who are going through things that are similar. But yeah, I really hope OP is able to find a network to help support her moving forward in whatever choices she makes.
Yeah, me too. So anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. You know Can Has name says, her phone is tapped. Okay, well, your husband is abusive, but could you elaborate on the phone tap? And OP replies, she was involved in some high-level illicit substance activity and has been under surveillance. They have been watching her and tapping her phones. That's what got her arrested. You know, the question I have is, why would you want to go to somebody who is clearly in some really bad stuff?
It sounds like he's either very curious or maybe he's somehow involved too.
Well, wouldn't that be a turn of events if he was somehow involved? Maybe he needs to know because maybe he has done some things in the past that aren't so good. That's pure speculation. I have no evidence for this. Fart Watcher says, if you guys can't afford stuff for your kids, you shouldn't be going on a trip in a few weeks either. And OP replies, the trip is for a doctor's appointment. The specialist we see is only in this area. It's a trip that we planned months ago for medical purposes. If there was anyone closer, we would go there, but unfortunately it's our only option. His sister lives the next town over, so it's nearby. And Sherry Koki says, honestly, if you all have that going on and he's willing to risk it all, this would raise some questions. The not talking to you is just the guilt tripping. Pay attention, I see that he's not showing you any respect here. And OP replies, he says that I'm the cause of all of our problems because I disagree with him. If I just agreed with him, then there wouldn't be a fight. So that makes me at fault and him the victim. But I'm starting to see that I might not be the one who's acting inappropriately. It's just been hard to see.
And that is a very common thing that abusers do. They use the acronym DARVO. Basically, they take all the things that they're doing wrong and they spin it around, and it's like, oh no, this is your fault. If only you weren't like this, I wouldn't have to do this to you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that OP is starting to see that that's not okay. And for anyone at home, like if that's familiar to you, it is 100% not your fault, and it's not okay for your partner or a family member or a friend to do that to you.
All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she's got a joke.
At monster school, what did they call a monster who sets fire to the desks, squashes all the textbooks, and eats the exams?
Well, there are a lot of different types of monsters that go to monster school, and I would say that if a monster did all those different kinds of things, their name would probably be Brian.
They call them the teacher's pet.
Oh, the teacher's pet. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be an overachieving monster. And I have Mega Mint tea. I'm just kidding, folks. I was just a very rambunctious child. I never squashed any books or set fire to anything.
But you did eat the exams.
But I did eat the exams, yes. They were very tasty. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Monday, Manic Monday. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please, please have it in the form of a fortune cookie.
Pay attention to the past, for that is a good indication of future events.
Yeah, that's a good fortune cookie. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!